Please welcome Cathy Engelbert and Stephanie Mehta.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Cathy.
Morning. Great.
This is going to be a great conversation. So as you can see, Cathy Engelbert is the commissioner of the WNBA, which is an amazing second act that follows an amazing tenure that you had as U.S. CEO of Deloitte. While she was at Deloitte, Cathy Engelbert was an incredible advocate for inclusion, and during her tenure, the company championed and instituted a groundbreaking 16-week family leave policy that won plaudits from all employees, not just women. So welcome, Cathy.
Thank you, Stephanie. Great to see you. Great to be here.
I want to start by asking about the title commissioner. You are the first commissioner of the WNBA. Your predecessors had the title president. Why commissioner, and why is that a little different from what we've seen since the inception of the WNBA?
Yeah, I think it was a signal. I'm never into titles, didn't aspire to be CEO or commissioner, but it's a signal that this is a major women's professional sports league, the only women's professional sports league to survive over 2 decades. We'll be tipping off our 24th season this year. And it comes with a great responsibility. Yeah, some WNBA fans out there. But it was basically a signal to say, you know, we are here and we're going to change women's basketball and women's sports. And that's what we're trying to do with a lot of the things we've done. I've actually, after a 33-year career, as Stephanie mentioned, I've been there 6.5 months. And, you know, we have a lot more to do, but this is, you know, and it gives you a seat at the table. I've never been into titles, but I must admit, when you're a commissioner, it gives you a seat at the table with other commissioners and other leaders in the sports world that, you know, women weren't getting that seat before because we had no women commissioners, at least of major professional sports.
And I want to talk a little bit more about the differences between corporate life and running the WNBA, but let's start with the really groundbreaking new collective bargaining agreement that you helped lead. It includes a 53% raise, maternity leave, and improved working conditions for players. What has the response been from the players, and what has the response been from the public?
Well, first, you know, I came into the role, the players had opted out of the last collective bargaining agreement. At first I was like, you know, oh, I haven't had time to build relationships with the players, and in order to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, you need some time to build relationships so that they trust you. I'm a firm believer when you become a new leader in anything, you need to do some small things of symbolic value to build trust so you can get the hard things done. But I didn't have that opportunity. Right in negotiating a collective bargaining agreement. And what I found out, I did a 12-city tour of our 12 WNBA teams, meeting with players and owners and media and fans, by the way, which was the fun part. And what I found was we actually had the same goals. I ran at Deloitte a very people-first agenda. I came here at the WNBA and said, this is a very player-first agenda. So it wasn't just pay. By the way, we increased the top players' pay by triple, over $500,000. And previously, the max they could have made was $117, so to get them over $500,000 is huge. The average now 6 figures for the first time. We're changing the narrative. We're going to drive an economic model to change the narrative. But it wasn't just about pay for the players. It was around health and wellness, being treated right on travel, and the maternity benefits, childcare stipend, fertility benefits up to $60,000 per player. So we really went all out, and the owners, who obviously take on a lot of the financial burden as well as the league, we were in this together, and we called it Go Big because we knew we had to be bold, we had to innovate. We're innovating around some special competitions, so the players actually gave us input into that. Stephanie, from what I feel like maybe the first time there was really we have the same goals. We want to drive a better player experience, higher pay, and better travel. And then from the league perspective, we want to drive marketing up. So we put a lot of big dollars behind marketing the players in a different way.
But how did you convince the owners that this was the right thing to do? These are a group of individuals, many of whom are, you know, some of the leading lights in business. Joe Tsai, who's one of the Alibaba leaders. How do you get a group of executives who are used to looking at spreadsheets and used to looking at the bottom line to make the commitment to do something because it's the right thing to do?
Right, I was telling Stephanie backstage, my new thing is no spreadsheet ever yielded a good answer for the WNBA or for women for that matter. So we have to kind of get away a little bit from the spreadsheets because the spreadsheets will run that you'll could put something else in an arena, or you could do something else with your marketing dollars, because we don't have the TV coverage, the media rights. Less than 1% of all global corporate sponsorship dollars go to women's sports, and even less to women team sports. And less than 5% of all media coverage of sports goes to women's sports. So, you know, we're kind of pushing this big boulder up the hills, but the owners knew this is the only women's professional league that has been around over 2 decades, and they said, we're going to invest heavily now, short term, so that long term we have a sustainable league. We drive in new fans, new digital native fans, so that's part of our strategy. We launched a new brand. That was our sizzle reel that played just there, around how elite these women athletes are. We have a narrative also coming into the Olympics, so the Olympics were just invoked in the last ad. Our US women's national basketball team will be competing for their 7th consecutive gold medal in Tokyo this year. But I come into the role, and all the media in their run-ups to the Olympics, guess what? They don't even mention the women's basketball team. If this was the men's team, it would be Dream Team 4.0, right? And they don't get mentioned. So we're trying to change the narrative. We're trying to change the attention to these elite athletes. We need to build stars. We need to build household names, build rivalries. Again, we're only in our 24th year. The NBA, even in their 40th year, you know, we were watching playoffs on tape delay and things like that, and they had one great rivalry between Larry Bird and Magic Johnson, and then a couple years later, who came along? Michael Jordan. So we need to build that star power, get more eyes on our game so we can drive better media and better corporate sponsorships.
You've had to battle the tyranny of the spreadsheet before when you were at Deloitte and you wanted to institute the 16-week family leave policy. It's really interesting to hear the former CEO of an accounting company complain about spreadsheets.
Yes.
But talk a little bit about how you overcame some of the institutional bias in your previous role.
Yeah, and I think all of our companies need to think about investing in people as our R&D. I had worked in the pharmaceutical industry, and I saw the billions and billions of dollars being poured into R&D, and then you come to a people business and now a player business, and you say, how do you think about research and development? And it's all around people and people first programs. And so when I wanted to put in our family leave policy, it's a quick funny story about I appeared on Meet the Press on Mother's Day when I first became the CEO, and Chuck Todd asked me about our maternity leave policy, and I mumbled and stumbled through 8-week, you know, family medical leave, 2 weeks, whatever, and I had 2 children and been on 2 leaves for exactly 8 weeks and right back to work, and started to say, this isn't very innovative, this isn't leading, and if we're gonna lead, we had 100,000 people in our US firm, if we're gonna lead, we need to do something bold. So a year later, Mother's Day came around, I had directed my talent, you know, head of talent to run, you know, come up with a policy, a leading policy, and a year later, Mother's Day came by again, and I wasn't on Meet the Press this time, but I called my head of talent and said, where is my leading family leave policy? And he said, oh, well, we did a spreadsheet and they said it was going to cost X, and we said it was too expensive, so we just kind of shelved it. And I turned to him and I said, am I the CEO of this firm? You know, I would like to see the spreadsheet. And I saw the spreadsheet, and it was way overstated and very conservative. And I said, this is not only the right thing to do for our people, and it ended up costing us a fraction of the cost. And as Stephanie alluded to, we did it for men and women for any family illness, and including obviously parental leave. And then we had men come to us and say, you know, my 4-year-old son was just diagnosed with autism. I want to take some time off under the family leave policy. Can I? And I said, not only can you, I need you to, and we want, you know, to profile you. And one gentleman ended up taking 11 weeks off, found the right care for his autistic child. And you know, these are the things that drive. Our turnover was the lowest in history. Our productivity went up. So these are the investments you make, you know, to drive a different narrative around what investing in people is like. So whether you were with our organization, you were 22, 32, or 52, under that family leave policy, you had something you could relate to. And that was why it wasn't considered R&D.
We're here in Los Angeles, and you released a statement following Kobe and Gigi Bryant's passing last month, and you wrote, Kobe's support for the WNBA and women's basketball, along with his passion for helping young girls and boys follow their dreams, made him a true legend for our sport. Can you elaborate a little bit on Kobe's legacy and his work, and I guess very quickly, Talk about the ways that men can be allies for women in sport or in business.
Yeah, and one thing I didn't know, so I came into the role in mid-July, mid-season, and about 6 weeks in, I get a text from Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, and Adam says, Kobe Bryant wants to come meet with you. And I said, oh, I like this job, Kobe Bryant. I've been a long-time fan. Kobe wants to come see me. So Kobe flies to New York. I mean, this is not made up. Comes to see, only NBA player to reach out to me since, I took the role, comes to New York, walks in, as if we knew each other our whole lives. We were both from Philadelphia, so we had that in common. But walks in and says, Cathy, I spend 4 hours a day on girls basketball, and I love it. And we proceeded, he wanted to know the strategy of the WNBA. It was supposed to be an hour meeting, it was 2 hours. He was really interested in hearing on how we're going to transform the league, what he was doing on youth and girls basketball. So this was real advocacy for our league. Wanted to help us invest, help advocate. He had come to our All-Star game. I gave him the orange hoodie that day, because you always give swag out when you come to the league offices. And then on December 29th, one of the last pictures with Gigi was Kobe wore the orange WNBA sweatshirt we gave him. I never thought he would wear it, by the way, but there he was, courtside at a Lakers game, and thank goodness we have that picture to remember his advocacy by. And so we're going to do a few things. Obviously, we're devastated over Gigi, Peyton, and Alyssa and their families that were on that helicopter. We're going to honor them at our draft, and we're still working through a lot of different things, being respectful of the mourning period and their parents and families. But we're going to honor these 3 amazing young basketball players. And obviously the NBA All-Star Game's coming up this weekend. Look for honoring Kobe and his legacy. And I was talking to someone on the way from the airport last night, and they were saying they were playing basketball that morning here in LA when they found out. They said almost all 10 players on the court, literally when they heard that Kobe had died, literally dropped to the ground and were in tears. And stop the game. So his impact was much broader than I certainly thought. And his impact on WNBA players and advocating for them and our soon-to-be WNBA players. He was involved with UConn and Oregon and some of our players there. It's pretty amazing. And I didn't know any of that even when I met with him. So huge advocate. So this is something where I had a huge advocate, male advocates growing up in my career at Deloitte. I think we have to continue to find those advocates and talk with them around how they invest and advocate for not just women in sports, but women in business, women in society, because I was so fortunate to have a male sponsor at Deloitte who really sponsored me behind the scenes, and I didn't even know it. So the same with Kobe, we didn't even know, we saw him when he was there, but we didn't know how much he was doing around youth and girls basketball behind the scenes. And this hashtag Girl Dad that has kind of gone viral a bit is really important to us too, around daddy daughters, things like that. We'll do something leading up to Father's Day around the new kind of hashtag Girl Dad.
Well, Cathy, you're only 6.5 months into the job. I know you're not done, but it's amazing to see all the progress you've made, and we can't wait to see what's next. Thank you so much.
We look forward to you all becoming WNBA fans, as well as sponsoring us. So corporate sponsorships, we just launched WNBA changemakers. So for those that want to invest, I think you'll be buying in low, because we're going to new heights, and hopefully we're going to change the world. So.
Franchises are going up. Thank you, Cathy.
You've got to